What's up guys, this is KK here. This is my very first YouTube video on the topic of Epic 7. I've been playing this game for more than a year now, and I really love Epic 7. I love the art style, the stories, and all the different aspects of the game. So currently I'm in Champion League in both regular arena and world arena. So I'm a mid to late game player. I thought it would be cool for me to share with the community about my own opinion and thoughts on the game. And actually, I have met great people in the community as well. So for today's topic, I would like to discuss the top 5 best damage dealer in the game. Just keep in mind that this list is based on totally my personal opinion. So if you disagree with the list, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below and let me know. Please also let me know if you want to see any further videos on the topics of Epic 7 and what kind of topic would you guys like to see. Please let me know as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we get into the top 5, I would like to have 2 honorable mentions. And the first one is none other than Ravi. Ravi is a warrior, fire warrior. She recently got buffed and her S1 can stun now. And we all know Ravi is a very scary DPS in the player versus player content, especially in RTA. If you ignore her for a long time, she can ramp up the damage and heal by doing damage as well, using her S1, and can wipe out an entire team. So I wouldn't go into the detail of her skills, but she basically is a stunning machine and can get attack and combat readiness when she is attacked. The reason why I did not put her in the top 5 is because she's only PvP oriented. She doesn't really shine in the PvE content, and also she needs to get hit before she can ditch out a lot of damage to get that increase in attack and also accumulate the fighting spirits, I believe. Yes. So she's kind of like a more of a, I wouldn't say niche, but situational picks. And also she is not that great against high burst damage like the other 5 heroes in the list. So she can get burst down. But nonetheless, Ravi is a very strong DPS if you want to use a fire bruiser in the PvP setting. And the other honorable mention is Celine. Celine is a very unique character and she's kind of new. She was released earlier this year, and the unique part about her kit is that she can cut and blink into an enemy to deal damage if the enemy teams uses a non-attacked skills. So she is a great counter to a lot of the cleave teams. For those of your new players who don't know what a cleave is basically a one-turn kill. So the enemy teams wants to kill you in one turn in RTA. So, and right now she actually gets a buff to have a exclusive equipment that gives her extra critical hit rate and also allows her to blink into the enemy that has the highest attack, which is insane. Because before this change, she might blink into a random enemy and wouldn't do much. say for example you have an auxiliary loss in the enemy team and he pushes a Judge Kisei, and right now Celine will 100% blink into the Judge Kisei and kills her. But before the change, Celine might just blink into the auxiliary lock, and it wouldn't stop the cleave from the enemy. The reason why I didn't put her on the top 5 is because she is also kind of only a PvP hero, and she's only situational good. For example, if the enemy team picks like a lot of non-combat readiness, like non-attack skill, then she can be good. But other than that, she's not really, you can't pick her anywhere. And also she's a grass hero, and which suffers from the other fire attackers in the game. Okay, let's get into the actual top 5. So up at number 5 is going to be Specter Tenebria. So a lot of people might say, oh, this is a 5-star hero and she must be very strong. And I agree with you that Specter Tenebria is one of the premier damage dealer in the game. Like her S1 give her a chance to attack 2 enemies and cannot be countered if you already use her S3, and also it can inflict poisons. And her S2 gives her extra stats in attack and defense when the enemy, when anybody on the battlefield dies, right? So if you have a lot of people dying and getting revived back, and you can set up this to give her a lot of extra stats. And her S3, right, can stun, and if the S3 kills an enemy, then it will push the combat readiness of the enemy team by 50%. That's huge. And I think Specter Tenebria is very strong. The reason why I only put her in the number 5 spots is because she's also not good like blind pick in RTA. So keep in mind, this list I mainly focus on the PvP side of things. I know a lot of like newer player that is working on the raid and the maybe the abyss, and then Specter Tenebria can shine still very well. I highly recommend you to build her strongly. I actually built my Specter Tenebria when first clearing out the Hell Raid. So she's actually very strong in PvE. I forgot to mention that she is also stealth and cannot be attacked by single target attack, which is huge, right? Like someone that only has a single target attack then cannot reach her. But the problem why Specter Tenebria is only number 5 is that in RTA, right, in PvP content, the enemy team usually can pick a lot of like heavy AoE damage. Means the hero has skills to hit 4 targets. In that situation, Specter Tenebria can be deleted easily because she is a kind of squishy, right? Doesn't have a lot of health or defense. She's a mage. Yeah, and in that situation, she might not be very good. Up at the number 4 spot is going to be Kron. I had to say this, Kron was once very strong, but right now in the current meta, I wouldn't say he is the best damage dealer, but he's still very good. That's why I put him in number 4. So now let's look at the skills. Kron has an AoE S1 if he is buffed, right? And also gives like a small chance to decrease hit chance, which is very annoying for the enemy team to deal with. And also his damage is proportional to the caster's lost health. If you look at his second skills, right, Kron cannot be deleted in one turn. No matter what, he will get like immortal when he reaches 0 HP. That is great, right? Because this synergizes with his S1. Say if you kill Kron, like bring his HP down to 0, right? He can come back and do a lot of damage and to wipe out your team. Not to mention that his S3, right? Increase attacks, and also if the S3 kills an enemy, it will extend the buff. Let's say you are already immortal and you use S3 to kill someone, and then you get the immortal again immediately. So basically, it's like this whole kit make Kron a perfect anti-cleave unit. So, and if you put him on immunity sets, and unless the enemy team have some sort of like a stripper, he is unstoppable, cannot be killed, cannot be cleaved, right? The problem is that like Kron can still be countered in some way. For example, if you bring like debuffer, or if you bring some like stuns, right, or strips, and he can be countered, right? He can be locked down and is unable to do the damage, and then just get killed. And also, not to mention that in the current meta, there are a lot of like water unit, right? Kron is fire and is not good against the water unit. But one thing to mention is that he is very speedy, right? He has probably one of the best base speed in the game, like 129 speed, as you can see here. And this makes him very strong and very interesting, because I have seen some people use Kron as like a very speedy turn 1 contester. Say if the enemy team has some like setup, right, a very fast unit, you can actually surprise the enemy by using Kron with his exclusive equipment, can silence the enemy, right, if you build him that way. But like the more conventional build is more like the damage Kron with some speed, right? The speed crit set, speed immunity sets Kron that can dish out a lot of damage. Another way you can build him is like you can build like a counter Kron for anti-cleave, right? Like you can build him super slow, but he won't die, and whenever the enemy hits him, he can counter back with the S1, right? Paired up with a Dust Devil artifact, you can do multiple S1s in one turn. So he's like, he is very strong because his build is kind of varying, and also Kron is very strong in the PvE content as well. If you need the AoE damage to farm or something, right, you can just put him on immunity gear and then turn off the skills to use S1 to farm. Yeah, I wouldn't talk more about Kron. If you're interested, I highly recommend you to check out King Blair's, which is a very famous YouTuber, his guide on Kron, and his Kron is very strong. I've seen probably the best Kron I've seen in the current meta. Yeah, mine is okay. Yeah. So up at number 3 is going to be none other than Remnant Violet. This guy is a beast, right? ML5, and for those of you who pulled him, like when he was on the banner, like, yeah, you made the right investment. Like, he is probably one of the best single target damage dealer in the game. I would say because like his S3, right, ignore defense by 50% while giving you attack buff first. That's insane, right? You have you don't need to bring any buffer like to buff attack, and you can just let him do his things, right? Can one shot, right? If you pair him up with like a defense breaker, like a Falcon and Curry, right? One of the most seen strategies in the PvP like RTA is Falcon and Curry and Remnant Violet, right? You all instantly delete one unit, and it becomes a 3v4 situation. Not to mention that Remnant Violet, if you max out the skills, right, he has a 50% increased chance with evasion, meaning you can dodge, right? Dodge attack. You only suffer from like I forgot a little percentage of the damage. So basically, you take, and it's very strong, right? If you pair him up with like a artifact, a Moonlight Dream Blade, and you have like 70% evasion, or but a lot of people like to use Val's Talisman to give him extra attack and evasion as well. And he's S1, right? He's just a very simple single target attack, but also a decreased hit chance. And the most important part about his kit is he stacks focus, right? Every time he's attacked, he gains 1 focus, and at 5 focus, he uses S3 again and pops into a random enemy. So it's very insane, right? Because like you can dodge and you can you can get hit, and then you can counter back, right, with the fully stacked focus on S3. And the problem with this hero is that he is kind of sometimes doesn't really do that much. It's not very reliable. 70% evasion. Sometimes you just hit him and then he just dies, right? He just get hit and can dodge and then just die. But overall, he is very strong, a very strong single target DPS hero, and I highly recommend you building him if you want to be successful in RTA, right? In PvP content. Okay, let's get into the number 2 spot. Can you guys all guess who is it? It's actually, I might be biased, but it's actually going to be Seaside Bellona. I know a lot of you guys, SSB is OP, right? SSB is Seaside Bellona is one of the best characters in the game. I think maybe a year ago or like a couple months ago, it's like that. But right now in the current situation, she's strong, but she's not the top tier anymore. So let's look at her skills, right? S1, right, just attacks the enemy, right? Put the target debuff, which is very strong, a very strong debuff. S2 is where she is a beast, right? She every time her allies and herself, right, get attacked, she gain focus, and at 5 focus she counters attack all the enemy with AOE, right? Boom boom, like the fans, throwing the fans, right? And not to mention that her S3, right, stacks focus first, 3 focus, and then put cannot be buffed and unhealable, which is 2 very strong debuff, right? 2 very strong debuff. And you soberly ignore effective resistance. So what makes Seaside Bellona so strong, other than like her pretty look, right? She just like a AOE machine, right? You don't need to build her speedy. She just keep counterattacking with the S2, right? And if you pair up like the artifact Rengar specialty drink, you can even dish out more damage, like to ignore defense, right? Rengar specialty drink, for those of you who don't know, add up extra damage to the enemy based on her attack. So what a lot of people do is like they build Seaside Bellona very high attack, like attack health set, and very tanky, right? Because she doesn't really need speed. I mean, you wouldn't argue like I think every unit in the game needs some speed, but she's not that speed reliant because she can counterattack, right? And you just need her to survive, right? And you and use the drink artifact to kill off the enemy. She was one of the top tier, right? You see SSB everywhere, like, if you don't have her, like, you're not into the game at all, right? She's a must pull, and luckily I had her like this summer. I pulled her this summer, and I pulled the drink, right? And she worked out pretty well. And she, not to mention that she's very strong in player versus environment content as well, PvE content. She can help you clear out the raid, and can farm, Wyvern, Banshee, even Asman. I'm not really Asmanic Hunt because you don't want to bring debuff there, but like a lot of the PvE content, even like Abyss, right? So strong, like she's everywhere. So if you don't have her, I'm sorry. Like maybe you are a new player there, and maybe next year, right, when she comes back, and you can pull for her if you're still interested in the game. And but yeah, like she's a game changer, and right now in the PvP situation, the Smilegate has introduced a lot of counters to her, and for example, Rowana, and also like others like Last Rider Crow. So she's not that strong in a PvP situation, but other than that, she's still very strong. Say if the enemy team doesn't have the counters, right, you can still use her and be successful and demolish, right, whatever the enemy team has. Overall, I personally has a bias because I really like the design. Seaside Bellona is one of my best, my favorite character in the game. So I really like her. So I put her in number 2 above, Remnant Violet, Kron, and Specter Tenebria, all that. But I think she's very strong, and the art style. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm rambling a lot about this character because I really like Seaside Bellona, although I don't use her very often anymore. But in a super competitive RTA environment, but she's very strong. Okay, let's get into the number 1 spot. Who is the best damage dealer in the game? I think most of you have already knew it. It is Arbiterveldre. This character is the iconic of Epic 7, right? It's probably is one of the reason why I really like the game, because I was able to put RB on the banner when he was up. And if you watch like others YouTubers videos, especially YD, right? Great shout out to YDCB. Like he's one of my favorite YouTuber, and he made a great video on Arbiterveldre showcase showing how strong he is and how you can really be successful if you have Arbiterveldre, right? Things have changed. If you don't have him, and then things is not that good, right? If you have him, a lot of things becomes way easier. He is just that strong. Okay, so one of the reasons is because he has a very strong stats line, right? The high attack, high speed, 116, 23 crit chance, 1200 attack, right? Very strong, and so you can give him like a very speedy damage set, so he can be very successful. Let's look at his skills. So S1, right, attack 2 enemies is AoE, right? Not really 4 people but 2 people, and decrease combat readiness by 10%. It's very very interesting skills and very strong. Decreased combat readiness can actually allow you to get a turn before the enemy. S3, right? AoE attack all enemy, put the decreased hit chance debuff. And if you have 5 focus, and then you increase damage by a lot, right? And you sober and you increase more damage. That's why he's one of the best AoE damage dealer, also a cleaver in the game, right? Lots of damage, pure damage. And not to mention that, right? If you kill an enemy with this S3, this skill cooldown resets. That is insane. The cooldown reset. You can S3 and kills a squishy in the enemy, and then you kills again, using an S3 again, right? And a lot of people pair him up with Alexa's basket, right? Give more attack, right? Greater attack buff, 75% increase in attack for himself. You just delete anything, even in a tank. Maybe a tank with defense buff can survive, but if a tank doesn't really have defense buff or and it's kind of low, and you just kill right away. And not to mention, right, Arbiterveldre has 2 lives, so if you kill him, he comes back, right? He comes back, gets an extra turn, and resets the cooldown on S3. So basically, once he's killed, he comes back, and then he use S3 immediately cut, right? Cut the enemy, or whoever turn is, he cuts, and then resets the enemy, not really resets, doing the massive damage to the enemies immediately. That is insane. That is insane. That's why Arbiterveldre is one of the best damage. If you talk to any players in the game, right, any high level players, who is the best damage dealer, they're gonna tell you Arbiterveldre. I swear to you, 100% up. Although there are a lot of counters to him, right? Smilegason realized like this character was too strong, right? When he was first released, because he was kind of one of the original Moonlight 5 stars, right? And they release a lot of counters to this character, because this character is just too overpowered, for example, they release Sinful Angelica. Sinful Angelica is like when she has a buff, the immortal buff, nobody on the battlefield can revive, right? Enemy team cannot revive, so Arbiter cannot revive again and do the massive S3 damage. Or you have a Blood Moon Haste, who also counters revive as well, because when anybody's revives, Blood Moon Haste gives the whole team a thick shield and immunity, right? So basically nullifies Arbiterveldre, the S3's damage. Or you can bring something like an extinction unit, like the newest unit here, ML Luluka, top model Luluka, can kill, right? Kill and then extinct the unit, and Arbiterveldre cannot be revived. I would say in today, like this meta, Arbiterveldre is not that strong anymore, right? It's not like OP, right? Like the god of the god back in the days, right? But he's still very strong, right? He is still one of the best damage dealer, and I would say the best damage dealer in the game. Even though with all these counters, you see people still like in high-end arena still first pick Arbiterveldre, right? Actually, I really and also not to mention that he's cool looking, right? With the sword, with these snakes, summoning all these snakes, very insane animation, gives you that destruction power feelings, right? And I really love the design of this character, right? The art style. And also Arbiterveldre, you can use him as a farmer, right, in regular adventures, or even in some of the hunts, right, as a damage dealer. I actually use my Arbiterveldre for one turn kill, right, Banshee one shot. I just use him to clear the first wave, and then I have another damage. I have Bicon, right, in the second round to one shot the Banshee. It's a very, very versatile hero, I think. If you don't have Arbiterveldre, don't be sad, right? One day you will get him, and because he was actually in the banner a couple months ago, and I was, I welled, right, to pull for him, right? But I was lucky, right? I didn't spend too much mystics. and yeah, like it was a life changer, and one of the best hero. Without further ado, I think that concludes today's video. Make sure to drop a like if you really like the video, and give me some comments, because this is actually my very first time making YouTube videos on the game, and I know there are a lot of rooms for me to improve. Please give me your feedback, and it will be really appreciated. And also let me know what kind of topic you want to see in the future, especially for the newer player out there. If you want me to help you by doing some, guides on the gear or the hunts, also please let me know, and I will do that. And yeah, and that concludes today's video, and I will see you guys next time.